Okay, so let's practice using autoscaling groups. To do so, first of all, please make sure to take your instances and terminate them all to have 0 instances running in EC2. Okay, so next we have to create an autoscaling group. So let's go into autoscaling groups on the left-hand side, and we're going to create our first autoscaling group. So create autoscaling group. Let's name our autoscaling group demo ASG, and we need to refer to a launch template. So I'm going to create a launch template right now. So when you create a launch template, you need to give it a name. I will give it my demo template, as well as a description templates. Okay, so we're going to scroll down and specify different options. So for the Amazon machine image I'm going to use, I'm going to go into Quick Start. Amazon Linux, I would choose Amazon Linux 2 in the version x86. Okay, and we'll use a T2 free tier eligible AMI, so that's good. Next, for instance type, I'm going to select T2 Macro because it is free tier eligible, so anything free tier eligible is good. And I will scroll down. In terms of key pair, I will include EC2 tutorial. So this is defining pretty much how EC2 instances within my launch template and therefore within my ASG should be launched. Okay, so the options are very similar to the ones you've seen when you launch an EC2 instance on its own. For subnets, you don't include it in the launch templates. For firewall security group, you can select an existing one, for example, your launch wizard one. You have 8 GB of GP2 volume, this is good. And then for advanced details, I'm going to scroll all the way down and I will find my user data. And for user data, I'm going to input the user data we used from before, so all of it. And this is going to allow a web server to be created on every EC2 instance as part of this ASG. So we're good to go. Let's create this launch template. It has been created, called the My Demo Template. I'm going to refresh it and select it right here. So we have My Demo Template, version 1. We have the summary of it, and we click on Next to keep on going. So we choose the instance launch options. We have a VPC, which is the default VPC, as well as the ability to launch into 3 different subnets, so EUS1A, 1B, and 1C. Instance requirements, so we have those provided by the templates, which is a T2 macro, but we could, if we wanted to, override them, okay? And when you override them, you can specify instance attributes or manually add instance types, and you can have a mix of on-demand and spot instances, as well as a mix of different instance types. So this is definitely more advanced, but for now, we'll just keep it as the instance type requirements from the launch template. So we'll have it as T2 macro only. Let's click on Next. Then we can configure advanced options. So load balancing is optional, so we can create an ASG without a load balancer, and there are a few use cases for that, okay? But we already have a load balancer, so we're going to attach to an existing load balancer, and I will choose my first target group from my demo ALB application balancer, so that the EC2 instances launched as part of this ASG are linked to my application load balancer directly. For health checks, this is optional, but again, we have 2 kinds of health checks. The first is the EC2 health check. So if my EC2 instance fails, it's going to be removed automatically from my autoscaling group. And we can also have an ELB type of health check enabled, and we'll leave it enabled, so that if the ELB deems that an instance is unhealthy, then the ASG will terminate it automatically. Okay, we will not enable any additional settings. Click on Next. So this is where you set your ASG group size. So desired capacity is 1, minimum capacity is 1, and maximum capacity is 1. So that means that we have 1 instance within the ASG. But if we could specify 10 as max capacity, which would allow us to have a varying size of the capacity of the ASG between 1 and 10. But I'll keep everything as 1 right now. Scaling policies, for now, I will keep it as none, but we'll have a look at them in details later on. Let's click on Next. No notifications, no tags. We review everything, and then we click on Create Auto Scaling Group. Okay, so my auto scaling group is created, and what it's going to do is that it's going to create one EC2 instance for me. So the idea here is that if I click on my auto scaling group and we get some details, we can see the desired min and max capacity, as well as the launch template that was used for this ASG. And then if I go into activity, this is where the interesting stuff happens. So when the ASG will decide to create an EC2 instance, it's going to appear in the activity notification. So if I refresh this very soon, in the activity history. So if I refresh the activity history, then I can see that there is a launching a new instance right here because the auto-scaling group has a capacity of 0 and we wanted 1 capacity. So it's just increasing the number of EC2 instances in RSG to match the desired capacity. So if I go to the tab Instance Management, as we can see, one EC2 instance was created by the ASG. And so if we go to the Instances tab right here, we can see that the EC2 instance is currently running and initializing. So it's pretty cool. Now, the cool thing is that because we had set up our ASG to be linked to our target groups, then if we go to the target groups on the left-hand side and find my first target group and go to targets, my EC2 instance is being, and I will just expand it, my EC2 instance is being registered into my ALB. So right now it shows as unhealthy because the objects are failing because the EC2 instance is still bootstrapping. But if after a bit it passes, it will be shown as healthy and then will be registered into my ALB. So let me pause the video to wait for that. Okay, so my instance is now healthy. And then if I go to my ALB and refresh, I get the hello world response. That means that everything is functioning. The instance was created by an ASG. We can see it in the EC2 console. It was registered into the target group, which is linked to our load balancer, and therefore our load balancer is fully working. Now, if the instance never gets healthy, it gets unhealthy, then because we set up our ASG to terminate unhealthy instances, what you're going to see is that the instance is going to be terminated and a new one will be created. So you will see this mostly in the activity history. If you do have this, the reason why this is happening is that your EC2 instance is misconfigured. This could be either a security group issue, or it could be an EC2 user data script issue. So please check those before asking questions in the Q&A. Okay, but these are the errors that you should be having. So now we have one EC2 instance and it's in service. And what we could do is that we can experience the scaling by editing the auto-scaling group size. So we want 2 instances, and so we have to increase the maximum capacity as well. So we'll update this. And now what we told the ASG is that we want you to create one more EC2 instance for us. So if we go to the activity history and then refresh it, very soon it's going to show a new activity that it will be trying to be launching an EC2 instance. So here we go. Now it says launching a new EC2 instance because you have changed the desired capacity from 1 to 2, and the actual number of instances in our ASG was only 1. So now, as you can see, we have a second EC2 instance being created, and after a while, it's going to be registered into our target group and added. So I will pause the video for this process to happen. Okay, so my instance is now healthy. And so if I go to my ALB and refresh, as we can see, I got my 2 IPs that are looping through my ALB. So everything is working great. And so one last thing. So if we go to activity, as we can see, the 2 EC2 instances were launched successfully. Now let's go through the opposite. We're going to scale down our capacity by putting the desired capacity back to 1 and update it. And what this will do is that it will say, hey, it looks like you have 2 instances, but now you need only 1. So I'm going to pick one of these 2 instances right here and terminate them. So as you can see here, it says I'm terminating one of these instances because of the change of the configuration of the SG. And it's going to terminate the instance and then deregister it from the target group. And then we'll be back with only one EC2 instance in our ASG. So that's it for this lecture. You've seen the whole power of ASG, and I will see you in the next lecture to talk about automatic scaling.